So I want to thank you for joining me. Welcome. You're in the right place if you're looking for a way to start your week on a roll. You're at the kickoff of Momentum Monday. So let's get your week headed in the right direction. So I want to thank those of you who contacted me and with their question about how their biggest struggle that they have. And the question that came up most often, or the struggle that came up most often, was finding time. I wish I had more time in the day. My favorite day of the year is when we fall back and get that extra hour, right? So today we'll be talking about how to create more time in your day. And we'll be talking about the dreaded multitasking. It gets a lot of bad rap, and understandably so, but we've got a way to work around that. So I do want you to note that, if you want to have a pen and paper, feel free. If you want to pop in and ask any questions, feel free to do that. I will have you on mute so that there won't be any background noise except for me. So raise your hand if you want to say something, and I will unmute you. Thank you so much. Or you can mute yourself on your own end. So let's get started. Oh, I didn't tell you everything we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to learn we're going to learn about multitasking. We're going to learn about, you're going to get some ideas about what I call hard and soft multitasking, and then some ideas on how to greet the day and so that you can be in each moment as it goes along instead of living ahead and living behind. That's what wastes a lot of time too. Okay? So let's go. Okay, first of all, multitasking. Wow. So many of us try to do it. We hear about it all the time. I learned a lot. I discovered 2 studies that seemed to hit the nail on the head for just exactly what I was looking for. 2.5% of us can multitask. And that's not a lot of people. Yet how many times are you doing more than one thing at one time, right? Often we do get a lot of things that we do at the same time, and often at either our stress and it just brings us down, or at the quality of the work that we're putting out. So our quality of life, the quality of work. Something has to suffer, right? So just to verify that, this guy named Earl Miller, he's a neuroscientist at MIT. He discovered that we don't really ever multitask, except for that 2.5%. But we don't ever really multitask. We start a project, stop it, and move on to the next one. And we think that we are doing 2 things at once when we're actually starting and stopping. Our brains can't handle doing 2 things at once. So that was really interesting. Let me make sure, I've got my notes down here. I want to make sure that I talked over everything. Oh yeah, and he said there's a really high cognitive cost to that. So with our brain function, right? That's like sometimes you drop a word or you forget the whole paragraph or something like that, okay? So that was an interesting thing. And so we think we're doing well, but it's really taxing our brains heavily. Okay, and then there was another study done in London, and what they discovered that trying to do too many things at once actually has your brain working like you had pulled an all-nighter, not gotten a night of sleep, or were on marijuana. So it really isn't in your boss's benefit or your benefit or whoever's around you's benefit to be doing more than one thing at a time. So when we multitask, we increase the production of cortisol. And cortisol is the stress hormone. Cortisol has been linked to belly fat and to lowered testosterone. Women need testosterone just like men do. It kind of gives us drive. And of course, there are other reasons for lowering testosterone, but stress is a major factor in that. So neither one of those is a really good idea. So how are we going to try to lower our cholesterol level, right? When we're shifting gears so much, it makes us stressed, mentally fatigued, and overwhelmed. So I actually have the pleasure of working as a dental hygienist 3 days a week at Fairlington Dental. And one of our ladies at the front is amazing. Dawn can multitask. I believe she is one of those people who's the 2.5%. But even at the end of some days, she says, my brain is tired, right? So you've had that feeling, oh, my brain is tired. It's like, I need to turn it off, right? And that means that you are not functioning to the highest level. It's like you're functioning when you're high, if you've ever been. So just, you're not functioning 100% anymore. So take a break. This shifting back and forth can make us shallow, fuzzy, distracted, yeah, and it can even take us out of our integrity. So it can take us out of who you know yourself to be. So this may be a time when you find yourself saying yes to something that you really know you don't want. This can be a time that you find yourself actually doing something that you would never do. Because when you say yes to something, you can always change your mind. Please remember, you can always change your mind. But if you're in an activity, you've already committed to it. So it's you want to make sure that you are focusing on the event and not letting your fuzzy brain, make the decisions for you. Okay? So that just verifies why we don't want to multitask. And this leads to anxiety and depression. And my definition of anxiety and depression are: anxiety is when you're living in the future, and depression is when you're living in the past. Now, that is a very simplistic way to look at it. Granted, there are a lot of moving parts, but that's how I just kind of see it. And that would be my first step if somebody came to me as a client who was anxious or depressed. We would focus on how to bring in the present time. We'll get to more of that a little bit later. In my opinion, there are two kinds of multitasking. And one of them is hard multitasking, and the other is soft. I think I coined that phrase, soft multitasking. Hard multitasking, some of it's illegal. Texting and driving is one of them. But you talking on the phone and trying to finish a proposal, even talking to your spouse and trying to email somebody at the same time, that doesn't work. How you miss half of everything. And if you're missing half of everything, it's a waste of time, right? And that's what we're trying to make more of. So those are the things, everybody, you could give me a list if you want. Send me your hardest, hard multitasking things. But the soft multitasking is really a great way to make more time. Okay. So soft multitasking I found it is doing something that doesn't take a lot of attention with maybe something that doesn't take a lot of attention, right? So I found it fascinating that a lot of the soft multitasking things that came to mind for me, and I'd love to hear yours, is our self-help or self-support or self-nurturing things like taking my dogs for a walk in the morning. And my face was getting really dry. I have the pleasure of seeing an esthetician, Julie at Adara Spa in Shirlington. Shout out to Julie. And I asked her if it was okay, but I said, can I do a facial while I'm walking my dogs in the morning? And yes, I'm pretty early. I don't usually run into anybody. And my facial is not colored. So it's skin tone. It's kind of like, just like I'm shiny. But so that's what I do. And she said it wouldn't be hard to have it on for an hour. It would be okay. But so now I feel good because I can give myself a facial twice a week at home, nurture my skin, feel good about myself, and feel like I'm glowing, right? It's awesome. So some other things that you can do in the soft multitasking. And some of them are going to be more important than the others. Like this one I think is really important. Making your car a device-free zone. Well, you as a driver can't text and drive anyway, right? So, and this is especially if you have somebody else in the car that you actually care about, right? So this would be with kids, spouse, loved ones, family, whatever. So you get in the car and you say, okay, no devices. I'm not going to be on it. You're not going to be on it. Let's talk. So you can find out about your kid's day. You can make plans about your next vacation with the person sitting with you, and those kind of things, what's important to you, getting to know your family just a little bit better. I mean, like right now, I am doing a soft multitask. I was kind of proud that I thought of this because I'm doing Zoom with you while having my YouTube taping on my phone. Okay, so this is all going to be posted on YouTube as well. And I noticed the downside to it is that my